March 1942, Port Moresby, New Guinea. Captain Ed Larner stood next to his B-25 Mitchell, staring out at the endless ocean. Somewhere out there in the slot, that narrow channel between the Solomon Islands, Japanese destroyers were racing through the night, hauling troops and supplies. The Americans called it the Tokyo Express. Fast, deadly, and damn near impossible to stop. Larner's squadron was supposed to sink them. The standard playbook: fly high, drop bombs, watch them splash. Easy on paper. In reality, they couldn't hit a damn thing. 18 missions, Larner told his co-pilot. 18 runs at those destroyers. Guess how many hits? None, sir. Exactly. Hundreds of bombs from 10,000 feet, 12,000 feet, 8,000 feet. The Japs spot us miles out. They zigzag, and our bombs just hit empty water. The math was brutal. A bomb dropped from 10,000 feet took over 20 seconds to hit the water. In that time, a destroyer at 30 knots could move 300 plus yards. The bombardier had to guess where the ship would be 20 seconds later, factoring wind, speed, altitude, and release at the perfect split second, all while getting shot at. It was basically impossible. Meanwhile, those Japanese destroyers were sinking Allied ships, reinforcing islands, and owning the Pacific. High-altitude precision bombing worked great against fixed targets like factories or bridges. Against fast, dodging warships, useless. Larner was a pro. He flew the missions, followed orders. But he wasn't blind. This wasn't working. It never would. "There's got to be a better way," he muttered. 300 miles south in Brisbane, Australia, a general was thinking the exact same thing. And he had a wild idea that would change air combat forever. An idea so nuts that engineers said it had ripped a plane apart. General George Kenny was about to turn a bomber into a flying tank gun. The problem: why high-altitude bombing failed against ships. The B-25 Mitchell was a solid medium bomber. Twin engines, 6-man crew, 230 miles per hour cruise, 3 000-pound bomb load, 1 300-mile range. Perfect for hitting ships, right? Wrong. Physics killed it. Bombs fall in a parabola. Higher altitude, equal sign. Longer drop time, equal sign. More time for the target to move. Against a stationary factory? Manageable. Against a maneuvering destroyer that can turn 90 degrees in under a minute? Nightmare. Bombardiers did mental calculus under fire, predicting ship position 20-plus seconds ahead. Hit rates? Under 1%, sometimes 0. Fly 18 missions, drop hundreds of bombs, nothing. Torpedo bombers from the Navy flew low and slow, but got shredded by AA fire. Torpedoes were scarce and unreliable. The Army Air Forces needed a fix. High altitude didn't work. Low-level torpedoes were suicide. There had to be something else. General George Kenny, new commander of Allied Air Forces in the Southwest Pacific, wasn't one to accept defeat. General Kenny, the guy who broke the rules. George Kenny was 53 in 1942, a WWII vet, experienced pilot, and a guy who hated bad tactics. He hit the Pacific in July 1942 and immediately saw the issue. Air power was failing because of outdated doctrine. High-altitude bombing was great for Europe. In the Pacific, against ships, total bust. He read the after-action reports: bombers out, bombs dropped, nothing hit. Crews risking everything for 0 results. "This is crazy," he told his staff. "We're using the wrong tool." "What's the right one?" someone asked. Kenny thought. The key was closing the distance. Fly lower. "How low?" his ops officer asked. "Masthead height," Kenny said. "Skip the bombs off the water like stones, right into the hull." Skip bombing had been tested. It worked better than high altitude, but you had to fly insanely low through heavy AA fire. Japanese destroyers had great guns. His staff pushed back. We'll lose planes faster than we can replace them. So we need something that hits hard from farther out, Kenny said. Accurate, devastating. He stared at a B-25 diagram. What if we stick a cannon in the nose? The room went dead quiet. Sir, a cannon? Yeah, a 75 field gun, like artillery. Engineers nearly lost it. General, a 75 weighs over a ton. Recoil's massive. It'll tear the plane apart. Make it work, Kenny said. I want a B-25 with a 75 cannon in the nose. Figure it out. The engineers turning impossible into reality. North American Aviation and Air Corps Ordnance guys got the job. Cram a 75 M4 cannon, lighter aviation version of the old French 75, into the B-25 nose. The M4 weighed about 1,500, 1,800, still heavy. Recoil was huge, but they added hydraulic buffers and a cradle that let the gun slide back 2 feet on firing. They stripped the nose, no bombardier, no glass. Solid metal with the cannon poking out. Mounting frame bolted to main structure. Hydraulic shocks absorbed most recoil. The rest? Transferred to the airframe. Calculations said it might hold, but nobody knew for sure. First prototype, XB-25G, modified B-25C, first flight and test shots, October 1942 at Eglin Field. Test pilot Ed Virgin fired the cannon. The plane shuddered, slowed violently, 10-20 miles per hour drop. Nose dipped, but it held together. No wings ripped off, no explosion, it worked. Reinforce weak spots, add more tests. The flying artillery was born. The weapon, what a 75 shell does to a ship. The M4 cannon fired a 15 lb shell at approximately 360 feet per s. Armor-piercing rounds punched through thin destroyer hulls, half-inch steel, like butter, exploding inside. One hit below the waterline, equal sign flooding. Near engines, equal sign disabled. Near ammo, equal sign boom. Biggest edge, accuracy. Shell travel time at 1,000, 2,000 yards. Under 2 seconds. Ship couldn't dodge. It was like firing naval artillery from an airplane. Deployment, Cannon B-25 has hit the Pacific. Production B-25Gs started arriving in early 1943. Not many, only about 400 built, but enough for testing. Kenny briefed pilots. Your gunners now, fly low and fast, aim the whole plane, fire at 1,000, 2,000 yards. Hit waterline or superstructure. Get out quick. Dangerous? Yes, but better than masthead skip bombing and way more effective than high-altitude misses. March 1943, the Bismarck Sea Battle. The big test. Japanese convoy, 8 transports, 8 destroyers, heading to New Guinea. Kenny threw everything, B-17s, skip bombing B-25s, A-20s, Beaufighters. A few early B-25Gs joined for trials. The battle lasted days. Allies sank all 8 transports and 4 destroyers. Over 3,000 Japanese troops lost. Skip bombers and strafers did most damage. Cannon B-25s proved the concept. Accurate hits, real damage from safer range. High altitude, still 0. Skip bombing. Worked, but risky. Cannon. Game changer in the right spots. The evolution. From B-25G to modern gunships. The B-25G led to the B-25H lighter T-13E 175 cannon, up to 14 forward-firing .50 cals, Pappy guns, field mods, blister guns, tail turret, co-pilot gone for weight savings. H models flew anti-shipping and ground attack. Cannon was great against ships, bunkers, trains, but recoil was brutal, accuracy limited, aimed by pointing the plane, and rate of fire slow, manual load 3-4 shots per pass. By 1944, Japanese shipping was dying. Cannon B-25 is shifted to ground support. Post-war, they faded, but the idea lived on. In Vietnam, cargo planes turned into gunships, AC-47 Spooky, then AC-130 with Gatlings, 40mm, even 105mm howitzers, flying artillery platforms, direct descendants of Kenny's crazy 1942 idea. The lesson: innovation beats impossible. Doctrine said high altitude only. Experts said cannon in a plane == suicide. Kenny said screw that, try it. Engineers made it work. Pilots flew the beasts, absorbing jarring recoil like a truck hitting them every shot, and sank ships. Sometimes the fix isn't fancy tech, it's a big gun, smart tactics, and refusing to quit. Epilogue: the real heroes. Pappy Gunn, the gadget genius, modified the first strafers and helped develop the cannon concept. He flew combat tests and survived the war, died 1957. Ed Larner led low-level attacks in the Bismarck Sea with skip bombers. He trained crews on modified B-25s but died in a tragic training crash on April 30th, 1943. General Kenny retired a 4-star. His low-level tactics and innovations turned the Pacific Air War. The B-25G/H weren't perfect, crude, stressful to fly, but they worked when nothing else did. That's the story. Not magic engineering, just people who said, let's try it, and changed the war.